What's going on, everyone? Adam Craig with Grandstand Golf. This is our round 2 DFS Showdown targets for the 2021 PGA Championship. And Craig, Canada, Corey Connors came out firing. He's at 5 under. Oh, that was my other monitor there. It just kicked in. I'm a little bit delayed on that one. What's going on, everyone? Thank you for joining us live. DFS Showdown targets. Corey Connors chat. Craig, what's going on?
Yeah, Corey Connors, you gotta love it, first off. Second off, if you're here after the fact for the showdown picks, we will put a timestamp down below, so if you want to just skip ahead to that, because as is the case at majors, we sometimes spend a little bit more time chatting up front.
But you're gonna miss out on some gems.
Yeah,
I'm sure.
really hot takes.
Speaking of that, you just start drinking with that. No hot takes.
Well, the hot takes, I feel like if I was John Catlin right now, I'd have some pretty hot takes.
Yeah. So he was 64 seconds over a shot after a warning, and he got dinged because he can only do 60 seconds. Something crazy like that.
It was either 73 or 64. Those were the two numbers I saw, but essentially they were put on the clock at one point, and I don't really know what that means, to be honest.
So if you didn't hear this, he was out in the morning. He got warning for slow play, and then he got assessed stroke at some point during this round, which I can't remember the last time.
So at least the first one in a major since I forget his name, but that young Chinese player at the Masters, Tianjin Lang or something like that. But essentially, yeah. So John Catlin, he ended up not playing that badly. Like he's plus 375 on the day, but with a stroke penalty there. It's just brutal. Yep. Like the thing is, I just want to know more about like, what does this mean? 64 seconds or 73 seconds? Is this like from it when it's their turn and they're up? Because I've seen a lot of times with our biggest names in golf that they dramatically exceed that. I also
release a quick statement just to outline what happened.
Well, and to outline what happens when they're on the clock, and like let us know when people are on the clock, and then I want to see a timer up because I want to know if they're just looking the other way when it's Bryson or Jordan Spieth or all the names that people would be very upset about this. It always seems to be lesser names that end up getting dinged on this. I did see as well Matt Fitzpatrick on Twitter. He is complaining because he had a 5 hour 15-minute round.
Yeah, 5:15.
And
he's talking about that was in a comment to the rangefinders, but yeah, I think that's just is kind of what it is with these guys. I mean, everyone got in before sundown, so there's that. I don't know if there's really a complaint at this point from the fans, really.
Well, I mean, they need to, if they want to actually change that, they need to fundamentally change how they police it and stuff, and it needs to be much more like there's a shot clock. But anyways, we'll leave that for a long chats and the podcast
another time. Robert, this is our showdown show. We're just chatting about the round, then we're going to go into our picks as well. Craig, so kind of quick headlines here. Francesco Molinari withdraw before the event started while we're in bed on kind of the West Coast. Sam Burns withdraw after like 8 or so holes plus 5. Yeah, sore back. That is tough to see because he has been on a heater coming off his first win just a couple events ago.
16% ownership in most tournament long cheap.
That's big for DFS. Yeah, big for DFS.
And I mean, Daniel Berger might as well have withdrawn because he took 25%. You saying he still has a chance? You're still on the
absolutely. Yeah. So where's he at? He's at +7. We'll talk about this in a little bit, but my projection for a cut is going to be +5 tomorrow. So realistically, he only has to shoot 2 under. Looking at this leaderboard right now, 15 guys shot 2 under today. He is one of the best players in the world. He can absolutely
for sure. I'm just joking. I mean, it's going to be tough. He has a long got a lot of work ahead of him. I did not expect to see him come out and put up a +7.
Data Golf, which I think we both admire the models that they have, are putting him at like a 16% chance to make the cut.
That's better than I would have thought.
Yeah. Well, it's a lot. And I think their cut projections, again, we'll talk about this in a sec, are a little bit not countering the weather as much, maybe, or the difficulty.
You mean you think it might be worse tomorrow?
Yeah, I think it might be
worse.
Well,
they do incorporate the weather, but I don't know what forecast they're using at this point for tomorrow.
That's only a couple weeks old, so they can continue to adjust that and get that better, right? But let's talk about this leaderboard. I mean, to me, this screams ball strikers. What are you seeing here?
Yeah, I mean, I also think for the most part, it's also people who went out early. I would say it skews early for sure. I mean, there's a few names that really surprised me because they were names that I didn't expect. I kind of personally faded from my player pools because, like, a Cam Tringali, I really like Cam Tringali. I really like the form he was in, but I was like, I just don't know. Like, I kind of put him and Chris Kirk and a few other people who I've been very high on in DFS, but I was like, majors are just different challenges. And, obviously he has answered it so far.
Yeah, I mean, I like that. I mean, Cam Davis is the one to me that I have a little bit FOMO of. I've been playing him, I feel like, for
me too.
A year
Fortunately, I got him
straight.
in a couple of my snakes as my last pick, so I do have some Cam Davis exposure.
But he's the kind of guy like he's not on the leaderboard right now, but EVR had a good morning and the kind of guy like, okay, it's looking good now, but there's that one hole and could happen before the cut line or after that, it might settle into T37 or something at the end of the turn.
And actually on that note, my fade, Brooks Koepka, who I had 0 tourney long GPP. Fortunately, I did draft him in a couple snakes when he kept falling and falling and falling. So I do have some exposure to him. But that was a little bit surprising that Brooks came out and especially after his first hole.
I mean, surprising and not surprising. Yeah, that first hole with him, Rory, and was it JT as well? Rory's wide in the water. Brooks hits it against the bunker. Like this group is falling apart on. Was it? I don't even forget. Was it 10?
I hadn't even had my coffee yet.
I know it was mayhem. But Brooks, I'm a little bit worried. I mean, it's still 3 days on a difficult course. I mean, just help.
You're worried that he might just run away with it? Oh, okay.
I'm not worried about that. He absolutely can, but I don't know how his knee is. Like,
I did see a pretty good stat posted on Twitter, and I don't know who this was, but it was cumulative scoring in major championships since 2017, and Brooks is minus 81, and like next is I want to say DJ and Hideki are the close in the mid 20s. It's like, man, this guy is just killing it when it comes to these hard long courses.
The one I'm most worried about missing out on for DFS is Morikawa. I have 0 of him. He was a fade for me. That 2 under
he looked good
scares
too.
me. He looked
Although
good.
He did do a lot of work with his putter. They spoke at the broadcast about him missing some putts, but clearly his strokes gained putting was high, so he also made some putts. And then to me, the most obvious thing ever happened, and Victor Hovland is very close to the lead and is continuing to play the brilliant golf we've seen from him. As much as I am a Connors fan, it feels like we're marching towards a Hovland coronation.
Yeah, until Corey Connors did that, Vic Hovland I think was the odds-on favorite at this point, and still very close behind Connors just because of their careers so far. But I mean, Barry and Peck. Phil, we got to talk about.
Phil. Oh yeah, sorry. And
first
off, congrats, Steve. A nice little showdown entry. It sounds like. So that's good. But yeah, Phil Mickelson.
Hey, looks good. I mean,
yeah. We saw this, I guess, even more so a few weeks ago. It's just a matter of can Phil continue to do it throughout the week? Because that's Phil still has a game to show flashes. It's just a matter of we're running a marathon. This is the first leg of it, and he just needs to keep the pace up.
Yeah, Ricky Fowler doing very well with kind of the gift he was given with the invite. So
yeah, but that gift isn't outlandish.
No, it's not.
There's a lot of the European guys who are playing. There's a lot of people who are here on those same type of invites. It's essentially, that's the reason that the PGA Championship is the strongest field, is because they go through and they invite all the people who are high in the world golf rankings that haven't already qualified to make sure that their field is very strong.
Robert and Donnie Baseball here is saying like it blew my mind how people sleep on Brooks and majors, and like I struggle with it because you see this guy and he can't even bend over for putts, and he said like he wasn't there at the Masters. He just wanted to kind of prove he could do it. But he's a big game hunter, like it's Brooks.
And in my own defense, I was I jumped on him at the Masters, and I was like, I'm believing that, beware of the injured
After waste
golfer.
management.
Well, and after, like, he's going to be out for 8 months, and then he shows up. He talks about showing up to the Masters. I was like, I'm getting a piece, because you never know. But because I did that and got burnt on it, I stayed away this time, and we saw him in poor form last week. But no, I think it will be interesting to see what happens with Brooks the rest of the week.
Yeah, for sure. Let's talk about some notables.
Yeah, for sure.
So, I mean, Spieth and Schauffele are still inside the cut line, +1. I think that's very comfortable. I mean, you're beating the field today. Rory, JT in that morning wave, which is a little bit friendlier, and we'll talk about that in a second, both at +3. Very, 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 very much alive throughout the weekend still, but not the best start. And that kind of goes along with Rory's Thursdays at majors, which is becoming an alarming trend for sure. And then my one and done guy, Dustin Johnson, didn't look good at all.
Yeah.
From most of the golf I saw in the afternoon, it was unconvincing from DJ.
Yeah, and I have opposite FOMO. I had some FOMO on DJ, so I slid some of my ROM ownership over towards DJ yesterday. But no, to me, I think Spieth is the safest out of these guys. He's going out in the morning tomorrow, which we're going to get to in a sec. But I think that's going to be the best scoring time. I think Rory and JT are the two that are in the most danger, because they're going out in the afternoon. DJ obviously is in danger because he's outside the cut line right now and is going to have to do some work. But he's going to be going out there, potentially in close to the best conditions of the day tomorrow. So he just needs to take care of his business. But Rory and JT, I feel like, are going to be up against it a bit.
Yeah, let's talk about that.
And
so
Xander will be out in the hard stuff, but he's got a little bit more buffer built up. And
for sure. So let's talk about that. So today we saw +2.78. It played difficult, but it was a really good true test of golf. We kind of talked about this a little bit. It wasn't kind of crazy ridiculous, too challenging, or greens way too firm like we've seen at US Opens in the past kind of half dozen years. But mine are +2.33 in the AM. PM was almost a stroke harder. I think that's supposed to be 3.22 or 3.23. And then looking at tomorrow. So this is what we're looking at here. The hard blue, soft blue is kind of the wind it's starting at 7 miles per hour in the morning, going to kind of 14, 15, 16 in the afternoon. But then the gust is in the green there. So it starts gusting first thing, and it's going to be gusting all day kind of. So what are you taking away from that, Craig?
So, I mean, essentially, I'm taking away, I think if the weather is equal, I still think it favors the morning. I forget who it was late in the day, but I saw a putt late in the day. Maybe it was a Cam Davis putt that it had a decent little bounce along it. And someone had said, it might have been Finau who had said at this, before the tournament started, that these are the nicest greens they've seen yet this year. These greens are in immaculate condition. That's just as they have traffic, and then they get that little bit of growth throughout the day, and just a little bit of, it's no longer perfectly uniform. If weather is equal, I would already skew it AM, but then I mean, there's a little bit of a skew to the AM there with the weather expectations. Now, and just real quick, I want to go to, so Scotty doesn't know is saying Bryson's scaring me too. We didn't bring up Bryson and Rahm as notables. They're both at even. I think they're a little bit, they're a little bit safer. We just sort of were talking about the notables that were potentially going to be flirting with the cut line.
Yeah, exactly. So cut line prediction. So I completely agree. I am looking to take a little bit further. 14, 15, 16, 18, 17, 18 are really difficult holes. So I want golfers, if they're off first thing in the morning, going off 10, potentially if they can get through 18, by 10 a.m., they might be able to survive the hardest holes with the least amount of wind. And I think, if there's any edge I can get from that, I'm going to try to find that edge and use that.
See, I care less than you, I think, about going off 10 versus 1. I do agree. Like, I want people going out as early as possible. But I don't know. I mean, if you saw the afternoon wave, when they went out and played those first 4 holes, like essentially somewhere like 14, 15 through 5 or 6, those are all into the wind. So if you get those guys who are going out, first thing in the morning, they're playing those other, 1 to 4 or 5. They're playing those with a calmer wind. And then, yes, they will have the closing holes in the wind, but we don't quite know when that wind's going to pick up. So I just want people going out early. I'm going to care less so necessarily I think if you're trying to be perfect about it, then yes, if they could get through that whole stretch in the middle of their round, then that's absolutely ideal. But it's just that's flirting with it, you know?
Yeah. So +2 right now is top 62s and ties. The cut line is going to be top 70 in ties, so it's a little bit different from PGA Tour events. It's top 70 in ties for this one. What are you thinking here? This is again from Data Golf, their live predictive model, whatever it's called. What do you think for the cut line?
I think it's going to 5. I think it's going to be even more brutal tomorrow.
Yeah, I mean, so you kind of just double it from the first day. If it's minus or positive, that would take us to 4. I'm adding a little bit. I think it will be a little bit tougher, and that's going to push it to 5. So I'm in that camp as well. I'm going with 5, +5. That's why Burger only needs to get a little 2 under. You can do it, Burger. And you're going out first thing.
Yeah. So Robert Hauser, I agree. I think it is 6 through 12, and that's when these people have the wind at their back. So
yeah, you might want to go through that for your scoring holes, get some scoring chances from 7, from 11, get that out of the way while the wind is kind of down a little bit, right?
Yeah, but the other thing is so even if you have the wind at your back on scoring holes, I don't think I think no wind is better than wind at your back, because when these guys are less, obviously tee shots it matters less, but when they're hitting into greens, it just messes with their yardages, and it makes it easier to hit over it and lose control. So I mean, that's where I just want as much as possible, I want my guys to be playing with as little wind as possible.
Craigan, love to hear that. Well, love having rounds. So yeah, that sounds good. Craig, do you want to answer this one? Hayden, it's early. It's an early guess. Hayden's asking, what do you think the winning score will be?
So I haven't looked ahead to the weekend forecasts, but assuming it's similar through the week, I mean, I think we're looking at 9, 10, 8, 9, 10, something like that. I do think that we saw, I would say more like the 3s. That's the pace that we're going to see. So, I mean, you could see it getting to 12 maybe, but Corey Connors 5, I don't think that's going to be easy to replicate.
In my head, I was thinking -8, -9. So I'll say -8, be a little bit more conservative. Think it's a bloodbath. I think Friday and Sunday were the worst. So I'll go with 8.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, like Tom T says, it just really depends on what Keegan is going to get to, because McIlroy is not going to be out there at 13 under last time he won this.
Doesn't have Rory in his way.
Yeah.
Okay, should we talk about some picks here?
Yeah, let's do it. You're up first here.
So yeah, subscribe, hit that thumbs up, guys. We're going to talk some picks. Could be some good ones. I feel it. I'm going Patrick Reed to start. Going pretty balanced on tomorrow. 8,600 on DraftKings, 74 +2, 2 birdies, 4 bogeys. How he got around, basically losing tons of strokes off the tee, -1.73, 138th in the field. Pretty fine everywhere else, 54th on approach, 33rd around the green, 63rd putting. But basically, Patrick Reed has been playing very well. 2.39 strokes gained total, over 2.39 strokes gained total in 6 of his last 10 rounds. So 60% of the time, he's getting 2, 3, 4 strokes on the field. It's a guy I like for scrambling. I like in wind. I like to kind of grind these hard courses. And he has that 8 a.m. tee time off number 10. So Patrick Reed at 8,600. Yeah, feels pretty good to me.
And he's just an easy guy to cheer for, too. I like to play a lot. 86, we're looking around there. You could sub in Berger if you want. You're looking at Finau, Hideki. I like it.
The other thing, a common trend I'm going through my picks is I think you've seen a lot of high scores when people miss the fairways. So I'm picking 3 guys that kind of miss a few more fairways than they should, like historically or like through their career averages. And Patrick Reed kind of fits that a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, the one thing is the people who are out early and who have really good scores are going to have very high ownership. So that's where I think a Patrick Reed stands out, because his will be subdued a bit.
Yeah.
I'm looking at Cameron Smith, 9,200. He was 72 even par on the day, 4 birdies, 4 bogeys, and not really the stat line you would think with a Cameron Smith even par round. He gained a lot of strokes with his ball. He gained a lot of strokes with his ball striking. Lost about a stroke putting, which is worse than 100th in the field. But ultimately, to me, it's not even about his steadiness. That's not why I like him. It's the big upside potential. So you look at 13 of his last 20 rounds, he's gained at least 2.5 strokes. And the thing about Cameron Smith that I like is his ability to he's got that Jordan Spieth ability to get the ball in the hole. And
Yeah.
so 8 of his last 15, he's gained at least 2 strokes putting. So you put that on what happened today. That's a three shot swing from where he was. The last thing so obviously the tee time as well. Essentially, all the guys I'm choosing are off early. I've chosen guys from both tees. But the thing I like, so we've got Cameron Smith at 9,200. Above that, we've got Hovland, and then we're into DeChambeau, Rahm, all the studs up top. And then
Yeah.
below that, we've got Morikawa, who's going to attract ownership, I think. We've got
For sure. Yep.
Zalatoris at 89, who I don't know if you guys were watching in the afternoon, but he was all over that broadcast. He's going to be all over the highlights because he had that hole out. So
Because he had that
I
eagle.
think Zalatoris will attract ownership. I just think Cam Smith, for where he's priced, it's expensive, but I think it's going to fly a little. His ownership will fly a little bit under the radar because of that. And so you give that with the upside potential. I like it.
Yeah, it is very interesting that it's a very opposite Cam Smith type day. And I forget what show we talked about him. I think it was our live show. Where like, is the putting really sustainable? It's a little bit off the charts right now. And to see that he was a full stroke under putting, but still beat the field by 2.5 strokes total. That's just encouraging that he can get it done however he wants to. The only thing I don't like is that price tag. And I feel like because it's a major, there's so many stars. I don't know. I got this little block in my head about Cam Smith.
That it doesn't
I
feel like I think he's plus 2 strokes gain over the past 3 months, up there with Spieth and
yeah.
well, Berger, but it doesn't feel like that's in any way sustainable as opposed to a ball striker who's doing that.
Yeah, like I don't know if I'm ready to put him ahead of Patrick Reed, put him ahead of these other. I don't even know the prices, like a Cantlay or like these other guys. But I mean, he has been playing that way, so it's just my own mental blockage. But if I'm building one lineup, I don't think I'm going to spend up for Cam Smith. But I like what he
I
said
think
about
it's
him.
a good place if you want to start there.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, my second pick. I'm going Tony Finau, 8,500. You're not going to find any guys under par on my list today. Tony Finau, 74 plus 2, 3 birdies, 3 bogeys, 1 double. Again, losing a ton of strokes off the tee. So minus 2.29, 143rd in the field. He's also losing on approach, but it's hard to kind of gain on approach when you're whacking it out of thick stuff every day. Really good around the green, and his putting. I have quite a bit of exposure to Tony Finau. He's one of my picks. So I was watching his putting, and he seemed to be cleaning up putts pretty well, rolling in 6-footers, 7-footers, which you need to do to kind of save some scores. But the reason I like Tony Finau, I don't even know about him as a win play. I'm not convinced about that. I do like the pass balance thing, but he only hit 28% of fairways in round one. That's tied for 152nd. I think only one player was worse. It might be Sam Burns, but I'm not sure. But I think there's only one player that's worse. So, I mean, like, he can't get worse than that. And he was still at plus 2 better than the field. So if he hits, let's say, 50% of fairways, then that's another handful of holes where he's in the short stuff and he can actually go at the greens and doesn't have to have an amazing game around the green, a sixth game around the green. So he's one of the first groups out there, 738 off 10. I feel like it's his time to make a move in this tournament if he's going to. And then if he's not, well, he's going to not only take down my showdown team, and he's going to take down some of my tournament longs anyways. So might as well just double down on a good early tee time with Tony Finau.
Yeah, I mean, this is a little bit sort of my classic showdown plays is people who, didn't necessarily do that well in the first day, but I liked them coming into the week. The price is good, 8,500. It lets you do balanced things. I think the real reason you like Finau though is because you swing like him. I keep telling you, you swing like him. You've got that big man, quick handsy swing. But yeah,
I'll take that.
unfortunately, you don't quite have the same results with your
Same
yeah.
outcome, pretty much. Yeah.
Okay, you said you weren't going under par. I've got one guy under par here, Joaquin Niemann. He's 8,400, 71 today, 4 birdies, 3 bogeys. Did a lot with his putter. Obviously, that's not sustainable throughout the week, but I'm not terribly concerned about that because I think he can gain a lot elsewhere. He was over 100th in both around the green play and off the tee. Around the green play is not his strong suit, but off the tee, typically he's going to do a lot better than that.
Yeah.
So first things first, he gains strokes almost every time he tees it up. Last 21 rounds, he's gained strokes 18 times. And then off the tee, which he did very poorly today, he's gained 10 of his last 12 rounds. So I think that Niemann is always has that upside. He's off very early. He's going to be playing those 1 to 4, 5-ish with as little wind as possible, and then he's going to have to play those last holes in the wind, but I'm okay with that. I think Joaquin Niemann, 8,400, he's in my player pool to start the week. I like him probably better in showdowns than I do tournament long, so he was always going to make an appearance in my showdown lineups, but the price did go up a bit, but I'm willing to pay it. I don't think the ownership is going to get outlandish, but he definitely will attract more ownership than probably the other guys we're talking about.
I like Niemann. He's got that low apex, does well in windy conditions. He also, he was in the afternoon. He beat in the 3.2 average over par, and he's -1. So he played very well today. Hot putter. Completely agree with that. But I just like Niemann in general. I also like that he's in my best lineup tournament long right now.
So you're rooting for it.
I am rooting for him. I like him.
The other thing that I think is very notable that we kind of should mention on a more global sense, because this also plays into my Niemann play. We've got Brooks at 8,000, Patrick Cantlay at 7,900, and Corey Connors at 7,900. All of those guys will attract ownership. So, how that affects the ownership of these other guys, I don't quite fully know yet, but I think that might keep someone like Niemann's ownership a little bit below what it otherwise would be.
Yeah, you're kind of stealing my thunder a little bit from my last pick, but I was going to talk about why it's a good pivot. But
let's go there then.
Tommy Fleetwood, 7,700 on DraftKings. It doesn't look good if you're just kind of scrolling through DraftKings like, I don't want to play Tommy Fleetwood at +4. He went out 76, 2 birdies, 3 bogeys, 1 triple. I think it was 15, and then he birdied 16, then bogey. Very interesting card coming in. It seemed like I haven't got a video of it, but it just seemed like he kept hacking it along the kind of the side of the hole. Like he just never got it back out into play. He just hacked it, which is like what I do out there. Just kind of keep pinging it off trees where I'm from, but he was just hacking it through the sand.
Adam, you don't need to take your hybrid out of the long rough.
Yeah, that's a mistake I'm not making again. So kind of a bizarre first round. -1.5 putting, 125th. -1.5 on approach, 122nd. Did very well around the greens like my other picks here, 1.88, and was kind of middling off the tee. But he, again, kind of like Patrick Reed, he has been playing well of late. He's plus 1.94 in 5 of his last 9 rounds. So over 50% of the time, he's beating the field by close to 2 strokes and more. He does have that 8 a.m. tee time off number 10. And then something we talked a lot about coming in is his major performance. Tommy Fleetwood's only missed 1 cut in his last 14 majors. So he can handle tough tests. He can handle the win. He can handle being +4 and having to go even or -1 and make the cut. Like none of those things really concern me. He had 1 really poor hole. If he didn't have that, he's probably a lot closer or under the scoring average than he was right now. So I just think it'll be kind of no ownership. Like you said, Connors 79, Brooks 8,000, Cantlay right around there as well. Tommy Fleetwood under-owned. I like it tomorrow.
Yeah, to me, it's a very good ownership pivot. I think he'll attract very little attention. This is one of those ones that, 5%, sub 5% probably. So it lets you do if you want to get super chalky with everything else, or if you want to, have a lot of leverage across everything. I don't know. So I didn't have him in my player pool for the week long. I think your other two players I did, so I don't have as good a feel because the guys who aren't in your player pool you don't follow as closely through the day.
Sure.
But I like it. I'm gonna look more into it before I make the play. I guess I would.
Yeah, hey, trust me. Again, I'm overexposed to him, so this is also like my showdown lineups going down with my tournament lineups if it doesn't work.
Gotcha.
So I'm kind of doubling down a little bit on my picks today.
Gotcha. My last one here. This is a pure value play. Matt Fitzpatrick, 7,600. It's too cheap. 73 plus one, 2 birdies, 3 bogeys. His stat line is not too dissimilar from what we should expect from him. Typically, he's been gaining off the tee more than I feel like my gut instinct on what Matt Fitzpatrick does. But he has been negative on approach, and he lost over a stroke on approach, 111th of the field. Typically, I think this putting around the green, you would typically see that flipped, I think, with a Matt Fitzpatrick. But either way, he gained with his short game as well. He is +1, which was pretty good out there in the afternoon. The thing with why I say this is too cheap. So first off, he's got consistency. So positive strokes gained, 26 of 31 rounds. That's going back a ways. It's just I couldn't. There just were more and more rounds as I was looking back that he kept being positive in. So essentially, he's a fairly safe bet to be positive. Yes, I know he's coming off a miscut, but ignoring that. But then the other thing he does, he has outlier rounds. So this is essentially what you're looking for really in showdowns is you're looking for those outlier rounds. So 7 of 31 rounds. So we're talking just under a quarter of the time. He's gaining over 4 strokes a round. So those are the ones that ultimately end up in showdown winning lineups. And then, the ones that are between 0 and 4, those are like they're not tanking your lineup. So I feel like he's a fairly safe bet to not tank your lineup, and I think he's a decent bet at 7,600 to actually have one of those really good rounds where the putter gets super hot and he puts himself in enough good positions to make some putts. And the reason he's putting himself in good positions, he's gained off the tee in 18 straight rounds. Now that may not be actually 18 straight rounds because the Masters they don't keep shot link stats. But essentially the last 18 times they've kept stats for off the tee, strokes gained off the tee, he's gained. So I like that. And he's off early on the tee you want to be going on. So it kind of ticks all the boxes for me. Don't know where ownership's going to come in. The fact that he is over par, I think that always keeps ownership a little bit lower because a lot of people just kind of come through and click on all the best scores and put together a lineup. So I just really like the value.
Yeah, the one thing I say is the tee we think in theory you want to be off of. Who knows what's going to happen tomorrow? Yeah, short gamer for sure. It's a ball striker's course. I think that's kind of been proven. But a short gamer in tougher conditions, we saw Matt Fitzpatrick at Riviera, much windier, but still he excelled in that because his flat stick is amazing. His short game is amazing. So yeah, I like it. 7,600 seems way too cheap for the caliber of golfer he is. So I like it tomorrow. And the tee times I'm looking for.
Yeah.
A bunch of questions tomorrow. I'll try to kind of go back to some we missed. Big R Colts fan, Craig. I'm going to throw this one to you. He asked, what about Brian Harman tomorrow to make a cut? Do you like him as a showdown play, or what do you think of Brian Harman? You've been playing Brian Harman for a little bit this year.
Yeah, I did not play him this week, so I am not actually on top of where
he gained.
He's +3.
3 strokes. He gained 3 strokes on approach, -2 putting. Very interesting. He didn't make my player pool either, but
so I like essentially with all the lefties who did well at the Masters, like Robbie McIntyre and Brian Harman. I gave him a little bit of a bump down because I think the Masters overinflates left-handed golfers.
Yeah.
But his form's been so good everywhere. Is he out in the afternoon tomorrow? I mean, so he's 7,800. I don't love it as a showdown play. It would be a low-owned one because he's right around Cantlin, Connors, Casey, Fleetwood, Hatton, Fitzpatrick. So I think it'll likely be low-owned in showdown. I'm not going to get there myself.
If you haven't already, please hit that thumbs up. It does support us. It does help our video, so please do that. We're going to continue to answer questions. Hayden said, one of these days we need to get a course vlog from you two. We completely agree. We haven't seen each other in, I think, over 8 months because our provinces have pretty much been in lockdown, but we really want to do that as well. We want to get out there.
How about Burmeister?
Anyone like...
Did you see that one? Rob House.
Oh, I might have missed
How
that
about Burmeister? I'm not going to get there. I think it's sort of a lotto ticket, high upside. There's going to be
There's too
low.
many good players. Like there's too many well-established great players. I think. I mean, when we're paying 7,600 for Matt Fitzpatrick, I don't really want to go as far down as someone.
So that's how I feel. I'm not going as deep. I kind of told that to you. I'm not going as deep tourney long. I'm going to continue that for Showdown. But I think there's high upside, low ownership.
Brian Harmon is off at 8:21 tomorrow on 1.
Craig and McMinn, his favorite part is seeing if I agree with Adam's pick. I don't think I'm very good at hiding my emotions on my face, so it's usually quite clear. The only one I think I'm unsure on is probably Fleetwood, and I haven't quite gotten there with the research on Fleetwood, but someone else here said that Rasa... Tom T says Rasa bet Fleetwood to win. Ben Rasa is probably one of my favorite DFS guys to watch. I watched him a lot more probably before we started doing this, but even still, I feel like I try to think about things. He's one of those people that I feel like he's talking about things in the way that I'm thinking about them. So you always kind of tend to
similar thought process, and
you're drawn towards the people that talk through things the way you think about them.
For sure. I thought I saw a question here about from Kevin. Thoughts about Leishman to rebound will be over-owned. Leishman, as a guy that I feel like was talked a lot before pre-tournament, I think he was in the morning wave. He's +2 right now. Lost a lot off the tee. Only hit 35% of his fairways. So kind of going along the theory of I did with my golfers, I like that to rebound. He is positive putting, positive around the green, positive approach. I'm still not convinced that we're getting Leishman at a price that's not close to his ceiling. That's why I've been hesitant to play him.
Yeah, I have him tournament long. I don't think I'll play him in Showdown tomorrow. He's going out there on the worst side of the weather, I think. But so he's +2 going into the day tomorrow. I actually think of the people who are at or around there, I like him to do fairly well battling in the elements. So I don't like him as a Showdown play personally, but you never know how it's going to actually play out. And also, Kevin, I do also like Xander tomorrow. Basically, I like Xander all the time.
I thought I saw a question. Oh, Brent Harris, 66-1, first round leader. That's awesome. Cash it with Corey Connors. I love it.
Yeah, for sure. Barry Ribera. I always struggle with that one. Anyone like Rahm tomorrow? Yes, he was almost my pick for this. I think he's 9,500 if I'm right. I almost had him as my pick. I always struggle with. So he was my first pick going into the week for tourney long DFS picks. I always struggle to come right back out with someone as my first pick on the first day of Showdown, because I think he was also my pick the week before.
He was your first pick in our pick show?
Yeah, I think so. Was he not?
Rahm?
I mean, I basically pick Rahm every chance I get. So I really like Rahm tomorrow. I think he's on the good side of the weather. I think he's going off 10. I could be wrong on that one.
Yeah, he's in the same tee time as Patrick Reed and Tommy Fleetwood, so 8 o'clock off 10.
I really like Rahm tomorrow.
Yeah.
Morikawa or Zalatoris. I think Morikawa is going to be, I think Zalatoris is going to be on the better side of the weather.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking too.
But I like, if all things are equal, I think Morikawa has more game, I don't know. That's tough.
Yeah, you didn't pick Rahm this week. You picked Xander.
Oh, did I? Okay. I was really heavy on Rahm ownership wise.
We talked about him a lot in our live show. Yeah, I'm very.
I should have picked Rahm today. I retroactively plug Rahm in there.
Yeah. Any Justin Rose love? I saw a little bit. To be perfectly honest, when I saw him on coverage, I kind of chose that time to do those errands.
Did you kind of think he looks like Christian Bezuidenhout?
Justin Rose?
The first time they showed him on coverage, I was like, oh, yeah, there's Christian Bezuidenhout. And no, it wasn't. It was Justin Rose. It's like a nose shape thing.
He gained like 80% of his strokes on the green, so I don't love that. But he's even par. I mean, he's always in play. Like he's a veteran in majors.
Yeah, so Big Art Colts saying Morikawa, Kicks is saying Zalatoris. If they were going out at the same time, I might lean Morikawa, but I would probably lean Zalatoris just based on weather.
Yeah.
Rom or DJ?
Sorry, the one thing Tom T says, I pivoted from Connors to Leishman. Oh, well. I think I saw a stat just before we came on from Justin Ray that said leaders of 2 strokes or more after round 1 over the past like 3 or 4 or 5 years, whatever he said, like have won 16% of the time. It's still a long way to go for Connors, and he is not like it's versus him versus the field. It's the field many times over.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I'm excited for the fact that he's leading,
me too.
But
Me too.
I'm gonna let it play out a little bit more. Rom or DJ, last one. I'm going Rom. I don't know what their prices are. They're 95 and 96. DJ's gonna have low ownership though, so flat. if you do want the ownership pivot, that might be worth it. But yeah.
I got DJ's my one and done, so my heart's there anyways. But DJ just looks flat. He looks uninspired. He looks. I mean, that's how he usually looks, but still.
Yeah, that's how he looks when he's dominating golf too.
Yeah, that's all. Yeah, exactly.
Okay, should we call her there?
Yeah, if you want to chat more, our Discord link is below. Come chat with us there. Good luck tomorrow, everyone. Same time tomorrow, 7:30 p.m. Eastern. We're going to do our Saturday Showdown picks. Join us then. Thanks and good luck.
Take care, guys. Good luck.